My name is Antonia Brooks, and on a chilly Tuesday afternoon in December 2025, I was sitting in the waiting room of Dr. Elena Ramirez's family practice clinic on Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard in Portland, Oregon. The room smelled of eucalyptus sanitizer and stale coffee. A muted TV in the corner played a continuous loop of local news. Holiday traffic warnings, a story about the new light rail extension to Beaverton, and an update on the record rainfall we'd had that fall. I was flipping through a dog-eared copy of Better Homes and Gardens from 2023 when my phone vibrated in my coat pocket. The screen lit up with Angela and a photo of my daughter at her college graduation 17 years earlier. Cap and gown, that bright, confident smile I used to know so well. "Hi, sweetheart," I answered, keeping my voice low so as not to disturb the elderly man coughing beside me. "Mom." Angela's tone was clipped, efficient, the way she spoke to her assistants at the marketing firm where she was now vice president. "I don't have much time. We're leaving for Europe tomorrow morning. Edward booked first-class tickets to Paris. Then we're doing Prague, Vienna, and ending in Barcelona. I've already sold the Cannon Beach house and Dad's old Ford pickup. We needed the cash for the trip and some investment opportunities Edward has lined up. I'll have the realtor transfer your share to your checking account by end of week. It's not a ton after fees, but it should help. Okay, gotta run. Love you, bye." The line went dead. I sat frozen, phone still pressed to my ear, as the automated voice told me the call had ended. 45 years of motherhood. Every sleepless night, every sacrificed vacation, every extra shift I worked as a medical receptionist to pay for braces. Summer camps, Stanford tuition, reduced to a 30-second business transaction. Around me, the waiting room continued its quiet rhythm. Pages turning, someone sniffing, the receptionist answering another call. But inside my chest, something shifted. Not the sharp stab of grief I'd felt when Robert died 6 months earlier. This was different, colder, clearer. I smiled. Because there was something Angela didn't know. Something my late husband Robert, the quiet, methodical Metrobus driver who'd worn the same Navy uniform for 40 years, had prepared for exactly this kind of moment. Chapter 2. Robert's Last Gift. Robert Brooks passed away on June 12, 2025. At 7:42 a.m., right at our kitchen table in the Alberta Arts District, bungalow we'd bought in 1987 for $82,000, and was now worth well over $1 million. He'd just poured my coffee, cream, 2 sugars, and was buttering his toast when he clutched his chest, looked at me with surprise more than pain and slumped forward. The paramedic said it was a massive heart attack. Instant. No suffering. The funeral was small but beautiful. Angela flew in from San Francisco, where she and Edward had moved after their wedding. She handled everything with ruthless efficiency, chose the casket, wrote the obituary, even picked the flowers. White lilies, Robert's favorite. She stayed for 10 days, sleeping in her old bedroom, helping me sort through his clothes, crying with me over photo albums, or so I thought. 3 days before he died, June 9th, a Sunday, Robert had come in from washing his beloved 1989 Ford F-150 pickup, cherry red, original paint, meticulously maintained, and handed me a thick manila envelope sealed with clear packing tape. "Tony," he said, using the nickname he'd given me on our second date in 1978, "put this in the bottom drawer of your dresser, under the sweaters. If anything ever happens to me, don't open it right away. Wait until you're ready, and whatever you do, don't mention it to Angela until you've read everything." I'd laughed at the time. "Robert Brooks, you're 68 years old and healthier than men half your age. Nothing's going to happen." But I did as he asked. After the funeral, grief swallowed me whole. The envelope sat forgotten beneath my winter sweaters for 6 months, until Angela's phone call brought it rushing back. Chapter 3. The Envelope. I took the number 75 bus home from the clinic, watching Portland slide by in the rain. Food carts closing up on Mississippi Avenue, murals on Alberta Street glistening wet, the holiday lights already twinkling on the trees along Broadway. Our bungalow looked exactly the same from the outside. Pale blue, craftsman with white trim, the porch swing. Robert had built in 1992, still hanging crooked because he'd insisted on doing it himself. Inside, his recliner still had the indentation from his body. His reading glasses sat on the side table next to his last book, a biography of Warren Buffett. I made tea first, chamomile, 2 sugars. Then I went to the bedroom. The envelope was heavier than I remembered. Robert's neat block printing on the front. "For Antonia, open when ready. I carried it to the kitchen table where we'd eaten breakfast, together for 43 years, and sat in his chair. The late afternoon light caught the dust in the air like tiny snowflakes. Inside were a 6-page handwritten letter, property deeds, 7 in total, stock and brokerage statements, bank account summaries, a flash drive labeled Trust Documents, a business card for David Peterson, attorney at law, with call when ready written on the back in Robert's handwriting. I started with the letter, "My dearest Antonia, if you're reading this, I'm no longer beside you, and for that I'm sorrier than you'll ever know. You were the joy of my life from the moment you spilled coffee on me at the downtown Powell's bookstore in 1977. I never told you the full truth about our finances because I wanted to protect you from 2 things, worry and our daughter's expectations. You know I drove a bus for Metro 40 years. What you don't know is that I also invested every extra dollar we ever had, starting with the $18,000 from my parents' farm sale in 1995. I bought rental properties quietly through an LLC you never knew existed, Brooks Family Holdings LLC, with you as 100% beneficiary upon my death. Here's what we own. 1. Our bungalow on NE 15th, mortgage paid off 2012. 2. Cannon Beach Ocean View House, purchased 2001, paid off 2018. 3. 24-unit luxury apartment building in the Pearl District, purchased 2010. This is the building Angela and Edward live in rent-free. 4. 3 single-family rentals in Southeast Portland, Lads Edition 1920s. Craftsman Hawthorne Bungalow, Selwood Mid-Century. 5. Commercial building on Alberta Street, 3 retail spaces, currently leased to a coffee shop, yoga studio and bookstore. Say, beachfront condo in Lincoln City, purchased 2015 as vacation rental. 7. 18%. Ownership in Bridgeport Brewing Company, local craft beer success story, current valuation $9.2 million, plus liquid assets. Fidelity brokerage account, $1.38 million. 3 high-yield savings accounts, $920,000 total. Treasury bonds, $450,000. Total net worth as of Q3 2025, approximately $11.7 million. You're rich. Tony. Not in the flashy way. No yachts or private jets, but in the quiet, secure way we always valued. I kept this from Angela because I saw how she changed after marrying Edward. The entitlement, the subtle disdain for our simple life. If she knew, she'd have treated you differently, and I couldn't bear that. David Peterson at Peterson & Associates has all the legal documents. Everything transfers to you automatically. He's expecting your call. Live well, my love. Travel. Take classes. Spoil yourself rotten. You spent 45 years putting Angela first and me second. Now put yourself first. I'll be watching from somewhere with a good view, proud of the incredible woman you are. All my love, forever and always. Robert. P.S. The flash drive has scanned copies of everything plus my investment notes if you want to understand how I did it. I read the letter 4 times. Then I cried. Not the wrenching sobs of grief, but tears of astonishment, gratitude, and something that felt dangerously like power. Chapter 4. The Second Call. The next morning, Wednesday, December 24th, 2025, Angela called again from PDX Airport. Mom, we're at the Alaska Airlines lounge. Just wanted to confirm the transfer went through. $50,600 after all fees. That's more than fair, right? The beach house needed a new roof anyway, and the truck was practically an antique. More than fair. For property worth over $2 million combined. And we're so excited. Edward has this amazing opportunity with a Paris-based tech startup. They're doing AI for sustainable fashion. He's investing $400,000, should triple in 2 years. $400,000 that came from selling my memories. Have a wonderful time, sweetheart, I said, my voice steady. Send pictures. Oh, we will. And when we get back in 6 months or so, we'll help you find something more suitable. Maybe one of those nice senior communities in Lake Oswego. You'll have friends your own age, activities, no yard work. The condescension dripped like honey. I'll manage, I said. Safe travels. After hanging up, I laughed until tears came again. Whiskers, Robert's ancient tabby cat, stared at me from the couch like I'd lost my mind. Then I called David Peterson. Chapter 5. The Lawyer. David Peterson's office occupied the 12th floor of a restored 1910 building overlooking the Willamette river from his windows. You could see the Hawthorne Bridge, food carts lining the waterfront park, and Mount Hood floating white and majestic in the distance. He was younger than I expected, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Robert had chosen well. "Mrs. Brooks," he said, standing to shake my hand. "Robert spoke of you often. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you." I found the envelope. When I spread the documents across his mahogany desk, his professional composure cracked. My God, Robert was extraordinary. This portfolio is museum-quality conservative investing. He bought the Pearl District building in 2010 for $3.8 million. It's worth $9 million today. The brewery stake alone. What can we do about the beach house and truck? Both sales were fraudulent. Angela had no legal authority. The power of attorney she had. You sign in July when you were deeply grieving can be challenged successfully. On grounds of undue influence and temporary incapacity, the buyers will get their money back and title reverts to you. And the Pearl District building? You've always been the owner through the LLC. We just need to update records to reflect your direct control and begin charging market rate rent. He paused. Robert left instructions for exactly this scenario. He predicted, well, he was concerned about Angela's influence after his passing. I nodded, throat tight. "David, I want everything done quietly. No contact with Angela yet, and I want full control of all properties." "Understood. It'll take 6 to 8 weeks for complete transfer, but we can start immediately." Chapter 6, The Double Life. The next 3 months were the strangest and most exhilarating of my life. To the outside world, I was poor Widow Brooks, abandoned by her ungrateful daughter. Neighbors brought casseroles. The church organized meal trains. Mrs. Chen at New Seasons. Market slipped extra seniors. Discounts into my grocery bags. Everyone spoke to me in that careful, pitying voice reserved for the newly destitute. I played the part perfectly. Wore my old coats. Kept the thermostat at 64. Thanked everyone profusely. But in reality, I was learning to be wealthy. David introduced me to Sarah Kim, a brilliant financial advisor who specialized in sudden wealth, inheritances, lottery winners, tech stock windfalls. We met weekly in her sun-filled office in the Pearl District. Ironically, 2 blocks from Angela's building. Sarah taught me about asset allocation, tax strategies, charitable giving. We moved funds into new accounts at Schwab, set up a donor-advised fund, created a revocable living trust with ironclad protections. The rental income alone was staggering. $28,000 per month after expenses and management fees. I paid cash for a 2025 Tesla Model Y in deep blue metallic. Bought myself clothes at Nordstrom for the first time in decades. Cashmere sweaters, Italian leather boots, a Burberry trench coat for Portland's endless rain. I took classes at Portland Community College. Watercolor painting, Italian conversation, memoir writing. Joined a widows' travel group called Second Act Sisters, and I began visiting my properties. First the Cannon Beach House. The buyers, a lovely couple from Sacramento, had already vacated after. David explained the situation. I stood on the deck watching winter waves crash against Haystack Rock, remembering summers with toddler Angela chasing seagulls, teenage Angela bringing friends for bonfires, adult Angela complaining the kitchen was dated. I hired contractors for a full renovation. Open concept. Kitchen with quartz counters, heated hardwood floors, new windows to maximize the ocean view. Cost $280,000, paid cash. Next, the Pearl District building. I toured it incognito with the property manager, noting the rooftop terrace, gym, concierge desk. Angela's penthouse took up the entire 24th floor. 3 tiny square feet of marble floors and sub-zero appliances my money had paid for over the years. I smiled at the doorman who'd known me for years as Mrs. Brooks, Angela's mom, and said nothing. Chapter 7, The Eviction. On March 1st, 2026, David sent the letter. Certified mail to Angela Brooks Whitaker, Penthouse 2401, The Meridian Tower, Pearl District, Portland, Orson forwarded to their Paris address. Subject: Notice to vacate premises and demand for past due rent. The letter outlined ownership history proving I was sole owner since 2010, market rate rent for comparable units, $18,500 a month. Back rent owed for 8 years of occupancy, $176,000. 30-day notice to vacate or face formal eviction proceedings. Angela's first call came March 4th at 3 a.m. Portland time. Mom, what the hell is this? Some lawyer says we're being evicted from our apartment and owe almost $2 million. This is insane. Good morning to you too, sweetheart, I said calmly, sipping coffee on my renovated back porch. This isn't funny. Edward's having a meltdown. No lawyer will take our case. They all say the documents are ironclad. They are. How can you do this to us? Actually, Angela, you did this to yourselves. When you sold my beach house and truck without permission. When you decided I was disposable because you thought I had nothing left. But we're family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't abandon each other when they think the money's gone. The line went silent except for her breathing. We're flying back tomorrow, she said finally. We'll fix this in person. There's nothing to fix. The locks will be changed April 1st. Security will be notified. I hung up. Chapter 8, The Reckoning. Angela and Edward returned to Portland on March 15th, looking like they'd aged 10 years. Their investments in Europe had collapsed. Edward had poured everything into cryptocurrency schemes and failed startups, run by his college friends. The banks called in loans secured against property he didn't own. They stayed in an extended stay America in Clackamas County while desperately apartment hunting in a city with 2.8% vacancy. I, meanwhile, took my first solo vacation, 3 weeks in Maui staying at the Four Seasons. Learned to snorkel, APOC every day, bought myself a diamond pendant I'd admired in a Lahaina gallery. When I returned, tanned and 20 pounds lighter from daily beach walks, the neighborhood buzzed with the latest drama. Did you hear? Angela and Edward got evicted from their fancy penthouse. Something about back rent. Poor dears. And after they put Antonia in such a difficult position, the casseroles stopped coming to my house. Now they went to whatever sad rental Angela had found. In May, Angela showed up at my door unannounced. She'd lost weight. Her designer clothes looked tired. Edward was staying with a friend in Seattle. Mom, she said, eyes red. We're in real trouble. The eviction's on our credit now. We can't rent anything decent. Can we stay here? Just until we get back on our feet? I studied my daughter, the woman who'd once told me I'd be better off in managed care fund for a long moment. No, I said gently but firmly. You made very clear choices, Angela. You decided our relationship was transactional. When you thought the transactions were over, so were we. But I'm your daughter. Yes, and for 45 years I was your mother. I paid for everything. Your education, your wedding, your lifestyle. And the moment you thought there was nothing left to take, you discarded me. I closed the door. Chapter 9, New Beginnings. By fall 2026, my life looked nothing like it had a year earlier. I sold the bungalow for $128 million and moved into a renovated loft in the Pearl District, 2 buildings away from Angela's former penthouse. The irony wasn't lost on me. I travel 4 times a year with the Second Act Sisters. Italy, Japan, Morocco, Iceland. I volunteer teaching financial literacy to widows at the YWCA. I serve on the board of a women's shelter. Robert always... Angela and Edward eventually found a 900-square-foot apartment in Vancouver, Washington. She works as a freelance marketing consultant. He drives for Uber. They're paying off debt slowly. Sometimes she texts on holidays. Thinking of you, Mom. Love you. I read them. Sometimes I reply, take care. Robert would understand. Some call what I did revenge. I call it boundaries and consequences. And finally, after 71 years, living life on my own terms. The moral? Never underestimate a quiet man who drives a bus for 40 years, or the woman who loved him enough to let him protect her in his own way. And never, ever assume you know someone's worth based on what they choose to show you, because some of us have secret inheritances, not just of money, but of strength.